I'm creating this video to share more about how exactly people like you and me can get a dog from overseas. I think the first time we even heard about getting a dog from overseas, we were like, say what? But really, after going through the whole process of getting the dog and going online, I think it's safe to say that if you know what to look out for and you know what to be careful about, then all should be fine. So some of y'all might be wondering why we wanted a dog in the first place. This is actually Nicole's lifelong dream, She really wanted a dog of her own. She actually heard from her friends who have border collies that, they got their dogs from overseas breeders. And they actually introduced to Nicole some breeders so that she can get started on, researching. So I think how this usually works is, through the word of mouth. And that's how people start to, buy dogs online. I think when you're buying something from online, especially a dog, there are really some important questions that you have to ask. And I think one of the questions to ask is whether the dog has a pedigree cert. So what exactly is a pedigree cert? The pedigree cert is a dog bloodline chart that shows his parents, his grandparents, his great-grandparents even. Breeders may opt to show bloodlines going further back as well. This information will give you insight about, your dog's genetics, what certain traits may have been passed down to your pup. Basically, this shows how healthy your dog is. But don't worry, because not all dogs have pedigree certs. And this doesn't mean that they are not healthy. So for our dog Bella, even though she doesn't have a pedigree cert, it's important that the breeders are genuine. So our breeder actually showed us the mother and the father of Bella. They are alive and well, and also showing to us that they don't have any underlying genetic conditions. So for border collies, usually it's hip displacement. There can be some color blindness at times, and some border collies can be really hyperactive. So before getting a dog, I think it's really important to know the pros and cons of getting certain types of breeds. I think one way you can do this is to go online to the American Kennel Club. So the AKC is basically like a whole registry of all the pedigrees, all the dogs in the United States. And it's basically a dog Wikipedia. So anything that you think you know or don't know about a dog, it will be inside this AKC. So this is the part where it starts to get a little bit more interesting. It's a process of sourcing for your breeders. And when you're searching for your breeder, it's really important that you keep certain conditions in mind, like waiting time or when the next available litter will be coming in. Sometimes it can be a few months' time, so certain breeders will not suit your time frame. Also, some dog owners prefer longer and shorter coats. And if you're buying a dog from overseas, the most important criteria is that, the breeder will be able to export your dog overseas. And some of the breeders that we came across couldn't export the dogs overseas, so this makes it really difficult to buy a dog from them. And I think as a whole, in general, all the breeders online are okay. And they're not sketchy, they're not seemingly unethical. So really just give it a shot, try your best, and hopefully you will find a breeder that suits your criteria. So once the breeders give the green light that they are able to do exports, we can start to look through the available puppies. So I think Nick and I were finding like a black and white border collie, because males tend to mark their territory and whatnot, but females do have their cons, period. But I think we're willing to close one eye because anyway we'll be sterilizing Bella in future. So for this particular breeder, there were only two female pups, Bella and her sister. I think at first we kind of liked Bella's sister more because the white markings on her forehead here were quite symmetrical, whereas Bella's white markings on her forehead were quite odd looking. I think it's really important to take into account a dog's personality, their traits, how they behave. So Bella's sister is more outgoing, I think quite rowdy at times, whereas Bella is more calm, just goes with the flow, easygoing. I think that's the kind of dog that me and Nicole would like to have, in the house. Oh yeah, and before I forget, also note that you should be requesting for FaceTime. This is so that the breeders are legit and not trying to scam you. So now comes the more complicated part. After paying the deposit of $500 to reserve Bella, we together with the breeder found about 5 companies that are willing to do pet transporting services. So we will actually spend quite some time reading up on all the reviews and testimonials, really to make sure that the company that we're choosing are really good at what they're doing. In the end, we chose the company More Home. I think what really stood out in the testimonials was that this company is really proactive, they go above and beyond to take care of your dogs. And I think what we dog owners really appreciate is people going the extra mile to take care of your dog. So fortunately, the price wasn't too expensive. The only setback about this company is that they can take quite a while to reply the emails, maybe about 5 hours. And just to let y'all know, our breeder actually helped us with communicating with the pet transporter, so this really made things a lot easier for us. So I recommend this breeder in future if you ever want border collies. So before your dog can fly away into the sunset, you have to get some documents ready. On the Singapore side, you need to register for a dog license with NParks. I think for the first year it's about $13.50. For subsequent years, I'm really not too sure. And the next thing you need to do is to use that dog license from NParks to go apply for an import license at Go Business. And once your particulars are checked, you'll be prompted to pay $50 or $100. So $50 is for 2 standard business days, and you can shorten it if you want. But paying $100 for it to be approved in 1 day isn't really worth it, in my opinion. So after your payment's approved in Go Business, this is where you will go to AVS to get your import license. To really speed up the process, you really need to get all your licenses ready, because only then can the pet transporter start to book the flight for your dog to come home. So on the breeder's side, this is where they will have to bring your dog to the vet and get their chip implanted. Basically, the cost of the microchip is already included in the price of the dog. If I'm not wrong, the breeder had to bring Bella in for 2 vaccinations in Australia, and then the other 2 vaccinations will be done in Singapore by us. So Bella actually needed to go back to the vet to make sure that her vaccinations were up to date. Because if the vaccinations aren't up to date, then she won't be able to fly. Okay, we are almost at the last step. So once all the licenses are improved, your dog license, your import license, you have to send all these documents to the pet transporter so that they can start to, book your flight. And this is where I think having a really proactive breeder really helps, because our breeder Simone, she really helped us throughout the whole process and made things a lot easier. So in total, the cost of the flight was around 1,781 AUD, and this includes the flight crate for your dog, as well as the general checkup at the vet before takeoff. Once More Home confirms your flight booking, we had to book for a dog inspection, which would take about 30 minutes to 1 hour after Bella arrives in Singapore. So again, where you can book the AVS inspection is through the AVS website. And 2 days after the inspection booking is confirmed, SATS Cargo will send you an email regarding how and where you can collect your puppy. I think that the question everyone will be asking is, why we are choosing an overseas breeder as opposed to a local breeder. Firstly, I think overseas breeders are much less expensive than local ones. We really wanted a dog, but we also had to be realistic with ourselves. So in total, Bella cost around $5,000. So the cost of Bella itself was $3,000. This included the vaccination fee, the microchip, as well as the dog itself. And you also need to get your licenses ready, so it's only your dog and your import license. And this amounts to around $60. And as I've mentioned just now, the airline fee costs around $1,781. So yeah, in total it costs around 5,000 Aussie dollars. With the conversion rate is about 4,000 plus SGD. So if you guys really want a dog and you're willing to go through the hassle of importing your dogs over, then this is something you can consider doing in time to come. So thanks for watching, guys. I think this video is really to help those who are genuinely curious about how to import dogs over and whatnot. And I hope this video has shed some light on this somewhat grey area as well, because I don't think many people import their dogs over from overseas, and it's probably because they don't know how to. I think you guys can let me know if you all have any more questions that you guys want to ask that may not have been covered in the video down below. I'll be more than happy to answer any queries that you guys have. If you guys really found the video to be educational, that you've learned something new, then feel free to like, comment, and subscribe for more in future.